welcome to the ReelVision podcast. I am your host, Cosma, and I am joined today by my special guest, longtime Cosmovoid contributor and film journalist for Daily Grindhouse, The Playlist, and The Film Stage, Tyler Casalini. What is up, friend?
Hey, how's it going, man? It's so sweet to be back. It's been too long.
It's been a minute, man.
It's been too long.
It has been way too long.
Yes, sir.
I'm glad that you're back. Literally a year after the Close Encounters episode.
Has it been? It was last summer, right? Last summer.
Yeah. I think Close Encounters was released in theaters during September, so it's been almost a year since the last time you were on the podcast. But it feels so good to have you back, man.
Dude, we were talking right before we recorded how nice this is, man. It's just the life. Talking about movies.
Love the cast. Love the show.
You love to see it.
Love to see it. And today, the film that we watched was Castle in the Sky, one of Miyazaki's earliest films, and I don't want to give too much away, but I think it's one of his best.
I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Okay,
we're gonna dive into it.
There's gonna be a deep dive,
but it's real safe to say there's a lot to like here.
Absolutely,
a lot to like.
So I'm gonna just throw it out there. What'd you think of this film?
Off the bat, I had a great time.
Yeah.
Obviously, I need to study more of the anime side of like film history and those artists.
Sure, absolutely.
And so I feel like watching this film was a really nice stepping stone for me to, get my foot in the door more, even though I have seen some in the past.
Sure, yeah.
But this was like another awesome step towards just like being really comfortable with like knowing a lot about that art form and like the art history there. And so, I had high hopes for it. Because everything we've watched together on, in the anime spectrum has been amazing.
Oh, of course.
And this is just another one that I was just like stoked about. And I really liked it.
Cool. I'm glad.
Yeah.
I too enjoyed this film.
Yeah.
Let me just say, we were eating haichu, watching a Ghibli movie. I was back in 7th grade again, dude.
That's a throwback right there.
That is a hardcore throwback.
That was a throwback.
Oh my gosh, I had a great time.
Yeah, no, that was awesome, man. I'm glad we watched it.
So, I have seen this film several times before.
Sure.
I have seen the Japanese version and I have seen the English dub. What did you think of the voice acting in the English dub?
You know what? As we were watching, I was kind of taking mental notes because obviously I wasn't taking physical notes. I just didn't.
Sure, of course.
But I was thinking about what I really wanted to bring up, the specifics.
Yeah.
And at the top of the list was actually the voice acting for Shita.
Oh yeah.
I thought she had a great performance, and like. Obviously with animation, it's both the animation and the voice acting, they have to play really well together to create chemistry on screen and to create a compelling performance. Definitely. Because in live action, obviously the voice you're hearing is coming out of the person you see on screen, but that's not the case for animation, right?
Yeah.
So I thought that it was actually really, really amazing, and I thought one of the best parts of the movie was how charming it was, and the chemistry between our two young characters, the friendly vibes they had from the voice acting, and so I thought it was really awesome.
Yeah, just the chemistry between those two characters is the most wholesome relationship in like all of cinema.
Yeah, it's like really. It's really cute, man. And like, are we talking about like specific story points?
Yeah, we can.
No, I'm just saying I don't want to like spoil or anything.
No worries. We're if you haven't seen the movie, please see it. This has spoilers.
Yeah.
We're about to dive into the spoilers.
I just wanted to say one of the really most wholesome, like kind of cute moments was like in the very beginning. First of all, there's some amazing chase sequences in there.
Oh, so good.
Towards the in the first act, there's some like the initial chase sequences are like directed really well,
really exciting.
Really well. And then there's just that cute moment where they're running through town and he's running to his boss, and pirates are after, and the whole town just stands behind him and like protects him.
Yeah,
I think that's just the cutest thing. Just like there wasn't any question there. It was just like immediately get behind him, and it just felt like that community in that town was...
The fact that Patsu knows everybody there.
Yeah.
He knows the old miner in the like caves.
Yeah.
And he knows the train conductor.
Right.
It's so wholesome. Everything about it is... It makes you feel good.
Definitely. It's a testament to his depth of his character too, because as we learn, he is an orphan, and so I imagine, you can imagine his childhood growing up in a community. Your community is your guidance rather than a specific parental unit.
Right.
So I found that actually really touching, and I thought that played really well. Subtle, but it works, and it's there.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's this theme in a lot of Miyazaki's work of selflessness, and I think that is one of Patsu's greatest strengths, and Shida's as well.
Definitely.
And the both of them sort of go through that journey together of like becoming the selfless people that they should be.
Right. I mean, throughout the film, they keep, sticking their necks out for one another.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, it's part of the adventure. The movie is tremendously goofy at times, and, it is a real fun time. Yeah. But the lengths they go to protect each other and to go on this journey with one another speaks to that, common theme that you just spoke about.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's super good.
Yeah,
I love this movie.
It's a lot of fun.
I love all the mythological references in it. How it's all about this mystical entity that they're all searching for, and it might not exist. But with Patsu, there's a very special connection to it because of his father.
Right.
Oh, my favorite part in the entire movie is the part where they slam into the cloud, and there's this hurricane whirling around Patsu and Shida, and everything's completely desaturated except for this bright pink lightning, and smacks him in the face. Yep. And then Patsu sees his father.
Right. It's real quiet. Oh, yeah. You just get a real close-up on Patsu's face. Nothing. No sound.
Yeah.
His lips are even moving, but we don't hear if he's even saying anything. Right. Nothing. And then you get that shot of his father.
Yeah.
Now, I love how they put that in there, and they didn't need to milk that afterwards. There wasn't any need to go back and explain, quote-unquote explain. I'm doing air quotes.
Yeah.
And make it more of like they movie-fied it. You know what I mean? They let that be...
They didn't even address it.
No, they didn't.
Directly after that.
Right. And I think that's like just the idea of like art can be like subtle, and art can be ambiguous, which is not the mainstream idea right now, in modern, A
lot of media wants to be in your face because that's how they get your attention.
And
that's how they keep your attention.
Exactly.
But this film has a subtlety to it. It has restraint, which I wish more movies had.
100%. And it doesn't feel the need to explain everything, like I think that's just a trend right now where you have like people need to explain everything, or like no shade here, but like the Russo brothers explain this, the Russo brothers. So it's like, to me, that's fine, if that's what they want to do, but that's kind of like the trend, that's the popular trend, I guess you could say.
Especially in like big fantasy films.
100%. And so seeing this was really refreshing, and it reminded me like how like well a story point like that could be accomplished.
Oh yeah. Going back to the mythology for a bit, I love all the connections to the robots, or like the golems from Jewish folklore, and the city full of gold is reminiscent of El Dorado.
Yeah.
And
I was thinking El Dorado too.
Yeah. There's so many cool connections. Like the giant tree is like the Norse mythology Yggdrasil, which is like the world tree. David and Goliath, which they name drop.
Right.
There are all these different cultures that have similar themes in their mythologies.
Sure.
And it's all about like that connection between humans and that connection between our culture.
Yeah.
And that's what Laputa kind of represents. Right. It represents the connections between all of us, and even the connections to nature.
Sure.
That we feel.
Definitely.
And with Patsu, it's his connection to his father.
Right.
With Shida, it's her connection to her family and her ancestors.
Name, right.
Yeah, and her family name.
Yeah.
It's this movie.
Yeah. Another thing to add about like the mythology, like you said El Dorado, but I really got that like Lost City of Atlantis vibe.
Yeah,
where
definitely.
It's like, on the surface, it's a really fun movie to watch because it's a search for like a lost city, and you have that adventure aspect, but then you also have the deeper kind of like underlying themes of like culture and society and like heritage in a way. You know what I mean? And then when it couldn't get more complex and like kind of thoughtful, the characters get to Laputa, and they see this castle, right? And they go inside the castle, and it's like an oasis garden. It's beautiful, bright, vibrant colors, which is fantastic animation, but also the idea of like, this is like true beauty.
Untouched by man.
Untouched by man, true beauty, the earth, right? And then you have like the exact opposite where, you know, I forget his name. The one voiced by Mark Hamill?
Yeah, Mark Hamill's character.
Yeah, so he was the exact opposite, where it's like man wants to take and abuse everything and use power for his like selfish like reasons. And that was kind of like alluded to, or like a foreshadowing moment when they were down in the cave in the beginning talking to the old man. And he says that we all belong to the earth.
Yeah.
The earth speaks to us. We belong to the earth. We share a relationship with the earth. So in a way, when they showed up and it was real earthy and green and lush like a forest, and there was so much beauty happening within like the animals and the flowers, that was like a reminder, like, this is our home and we can't be abusing it. And in a way, maybe I took it there personally, but I saw it as like a really bigger, heavier message about like climate and like
the environment. Yeah,
right.
No. The environmental message is something that is constant throughout all of Miyazaki's
Interesting.
If you watch something like Howl's Moving Castle or Nazca, especially Nazca, and even My Neighbor Totoro, it's super important there. And actually, a film that I really want you to watch is Mononoke Hime, Princess Mononoke.
Uh-huh.
You will like that movie.
Sweet.
And it is all about the environment and our relationship with it.
Yeah, I love stuff like that. And I especially love when you have it's told from a different perspective or a different vehicle, if that makes sense. Like this was not a documentary style way of deliverance, or like this is not The Revenant, where we're speaking specifically about this ground.
Right.
This is a little bit broader, but it still makes those connections. And to me, that's like perfect.
To do something so meaningful in an animated movie made specifically for families to enjoy, and to make it an action movie but still include those very powerful and important themes is really admirable.
Sure, 100%.
And I think it's something that more movies should do.
Yeah, I agree. I think it has substance, and I think a lot of movies, a lot of art now. Yeah. And, all art has been like this forever, but it's more of a trend now, popular trend, where it's like, it's substanceless. It doesn't have...
It's made for popcorn
weight.
value.
It's made for popcorn value, which that has its market, sure, but I think people start to lose the importance of substance and like what you can learn from a movie, even a movie like this, a family movie. You know what I'm saying?
Totally agree.
This is not an Interstellar. This is not.
No.
These ideas are not too heady at all, but they are important, and I respect that.
Yeah,
and that was really fun to dissect while watching it, and dissect right now talking to you.
Oh yeah. Who would you say is your favorite character in the film?
Sheeta, 100%.
Yeah,
she's just awesome, man.
Yeah.
Like, she's just cool, man. It just gives me like the Force Awakens like Rey vibe, where she's let go of my hand, or like stop grabbing my hand. Like that's her whole mood this whole movie.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? She's just kind of like there, and she's just like taking things by storm, and like by storm, like literally by storm. And
she's a force of nature.
Oh, 100%. She's awesome, man. She's almost mystical and mythological in her own right. You know what I'm saying? Just the way she literally the way the other characters in the movie get introduced to her is by her floating down. He literally says, "I thought you were an angel." Pretty much, she honestly
kind of is.
And so I think she's awesome. She's funny. She's cute.
Oh yeah.
And I just love her interaction with like the pirates. They're all like trying to help her cook and stuff. Dude. Okay, what about you? What's your favorite character?
My favorite character is Patsu.
Okay, yeah, Patsu's the man.
He's great. Oh man, I honestly though, even like the villain characters in this movie, or some of them are quote unquote villains.
Sure.
Like the pirates aren't really villains, and we learn that later.
Right.
Oh man, I want to be a pirate, dude. I want to be an air pirate specifically. That's the coolest thing.
I don't know about you, but okay, sorry, you were gonna finish.
No.
Make your statement, but finish after I say this. But when they were, kind of coasting towards Laputa, and they were just kind of like, it was in probably right between the second and third act, where it kind of just lulled out a little bit narratively.
Yeah.
You have some beautiful animation up in the sky. It's Patsu and Shida up in the,
the
kite
nest
area and the crow's nest. That's just a cute moment, and you see them looking out, and you're like, dang, I really wish I was up there kind of bundled up in a blanket, just like enjoying the sky. You know what I mean? Like, they just put you there. It's very environmental at that moment.
I wish I was in the kitchen at the time of the food. Oh my god, it must smell so good.
Yeah, man. I always love that about like anime films or about any movie that takes place in a environment or a culture that I'm not familiar with.
Sure.
The vibrancy of the food and that is like makes you hungry and also makes you appreciate other like cultures and other eateries. Yeah. But what were you gonna say earlier?
I was just gonna say the airship stuff is so cool, and it's very unique. You don't see a lot of designs like that where they're almost kind of organic, but also very
rustic in a way.
Yeah, rustic. There you go.
Yeah, I like that, man. It is kind of sweet.
And I also love the designs of the Lost City and the ruins, especially. I would explore that for days, dude.
Yeah,
I
awesome.
would love to go through there and just look at everything. And I love when they get to Laputa and there are the robots that have moss growing on them and foliage. And there are animals nesting in there. You see the little fox squirrels like running up onto its shoulders.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
And that also kind of ties into the environmental message because they mentioned earlier we come from the earth. You kind of talked about this. We come from the earth, and to the earth we will go. And you see the robots sort of do the same thing where they end up at the base of that tree and they stay there for the rest of their eternity.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that at the end of the film, Shida and Patsu are saved by the roots of the tree. Wow. Like, nature is the thing that saves them.
Yeah.
That's so cool to me.
Right. I think what we've been speaking about this whole time and what you specifically just said, all that would be nothing without the attention to detail in this movie. There's like, even aesthetic details where you have the moss growing on them to show that they've been there for a while and they are almost, in a symbiotic relationship with nature. That's just an aesthetic detail. But then you have the thematic details and the narrative details that are so precise, almost precise, where you don't really even notice that, oh, he's doing this on purpose and purpose. It just kind of fits together subconsciously to create like
you
a
never question it.
You never question it. It's refreshing and like
and it makes sense in that world. It's internally consistent.
100%. And and there's no discrepancies there. There's nothing where something happens and you don't question it because you've like from the beginning you've grown to the first scene is in an airship. Yeah. So that puts us in that part of the world from the get-go. So we never end up questioning anything happening in their world because we're eased into it and we're taught about the rules of the world of the film.
Whereas if we were to start at Patsu's home, then it would be really weird to see airships later introduced.
Yeah, right, exactly, because airships play a massive part in the movie. That's like a big bulk of the second half of the movie takes place on airships, and so being introduced to that is something you wouldn't really think that's a big deal, but it's really important, and like you can tell a lot of thought went into crafting the narrative structure of this movie.
Right, and how everything in the world was presented to us.
Right. But it also, like you mentioned earlier, it also still follows the kind of like family film formula. And so finding that balance is really important because you want to make sure your film is still accessible to kids and to families. And finding that balance is not always easy. You have a lot of kids movies out there that are just mundane and formulaic, and you have a lot of quote unquote kids movies out there that they can't be followed by kids because they're too complex. You know what I'm saying? Think of the animated movies you remember as a kid, the ones you remember the most, and you have the most. Those are the ones that do it right. Okay. All the ones that are kind of like you kind of think back, you're like, oh, dang, like okay, I don't really remember it that much. Yeah. Obviously now it's kind of fading from your memory. I would probably consider like maybe this isn't the best example, but
Sure.
like Black Cauldron, like to me was
Okay,
dark
yeah.
and it's an animated kids movie, was in the same line as all the other animated movies,
Yeah.
but didn't hold up to that because it didn't feel like it was structured well, or the ideas were not placed in the right spot in the story.
Okay. It wasn't structured in a way that would resonate with you as a kid and
Right.
would keep you interested.
Right.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Black Cauldron's actually a pretty good example of that, because that movie is cool, but it's not like my favorite movie ever.
Right. I'm saying in the lens of a family, in the lens of a kid.
Yeah.
This one, you know, obviously if I watch Black Cauldron now, I'd probably mess with it. You know what I mean? Because like, it's whatever. You know, it's cool.
Right.
But I'm saying in the lens of a kid, like let's put ourselves in the shoes of like a young child or like a family. This works so well because what we said earlier, the detail is there.
Sure. It's important to look through the lens of a child. If you're going to make a film that is accessible to children, you have to think about it in how younger people are going to watch it and how they're going to take in that experience.
Right.
What will resonate with them,
Right.
and in what order do you need to present it to them in order to sort of have that interaction.
Right. I agree with that.
Actually, Miyazaki didn't always make kids movies or family pictures. He actually, his first two films, Lupin III, The Castle of Cagliostro, and Nazca of the Valley of the Wind, I would not really consider those like kids films or even family films, especially not Lupin III.
Right.
Lupin III is definitely an adult film.
Okay.
But not like an adult film.
It's definitely an adult film.
Well, I mean...
Cosmovoid After Dark.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh. No, I get what you mean though. It has...
Yeah, it doesn't stray away from the adult themes. But he starts, like later in his career, he starts making films that are accessible to kids and that can be watched by anyone regardless of your age. And I think that's where Miyazaki excels at. The films that it doesn't matter who you are or what age you are, you can watch it and you can have that same kind of experience with it. I feel like Miyazaki's strengths come out when he is speaking to the entire audience and not just one small group.
Right. And it's apparent that he's speaking to the large audience.
Oh, yeah.
And it's admirable.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fun.
Yeah.
And so I agree with that.
What was your favorite moment from this film?
Man, sweet, man. There's so many cool moments. I think my favorite moment... I'm a man of subtlety. I'm a man of the quiet screen time. And so I think my favorite moment was their conversation. They were being eavesdropped on by the captain of the pirates.
Yeah.
But their conversation up in the crow's nest. It was vulnerable. It was soft. It was cute. I'm a sucker for that.
I love
I like
that too.
that. And then I'd probably say, you didn't ask me this, but I'm gonna throw it in there.
Sure.
I'd probably say my least favorite moment, or like the moments that rubbed me the wrong way, were the moments that were just a tad bit too goofy.
Like the pirates
for me.
just going way too hard.
Yeah, those were like, to me, those were slightly eye rollers, but
yeah.
like we've been saying, it's important to look at it through the lens of a family perspective and child perspective, and it works there. Personally, that just kind of like was a shrug off for me. You know what I mean?
I get it.
But that's like I said, that's like the compromise of working with the family film, quote unquote,
in that medium.
Exactly. But the crow's nest scene is amazing.
Oh yeah. So the scenes that you don't mess with, though, those would be the moments where it was especially goofy.
Right.
What moments, aside from like the few with the pirates, what else was there for you?
It was primarily early on in the movie. So for like, because after the like once both ships were like headed towards Laputa, and it was like that she was doing her calculations, saying, "I think we're gonna catch him." Like from that moment on, I felt like it was actually it took a really mature direction and took a very serious direction.
Sure,
and it was tense, and like the stakes were there. Before that, while we're learning our characters, there were like moments where it just felt goofy to me and felt kind of like silly. But like I understand that's part of the world, and like I'm not trying to tear that down.
No,
but I think it's important to recognize things that didn't necessarily work. And for me,
of course.
and I'm trying to like remember the specifics because I remember the pirates, they were kind of blushing and stuff over like she in the
that's
kitchen.
Super silly.
That's so silly. That's super silly. And I think okay, the street fight when they were popping their shirts off. That's okay. I like the way they did the fight where it was like a single punch thrown and then there was a pause and like a look. I like that direction. Right. But like the precursor to it when they kind of had like make your shirt pop off.
Yeah, that exchange.
Like right, the exchange is like kind of eye rolly. It's kind of goofy. It's like you know, whatever. It's not my favorite part.
Sure, I do like that part, but
it's funny, dude. It is funny.
Really funny.
Like we could laugh at it. I'm laughing about it right now. But like if I'm watching the movie and something kind of throws me off the course, I'm gonna mention it. But of course, for me, it was like okay.
No, I get you.
Iffy, a little iffy, but not compromising at all.
Yeah. Okay, the music in this film. What do you think?
Score is outstanding. Oh yeah. Like I said earlier when I was taking the mental notes and like the voice acting was up there for me.
Yeah.
The second, and they were interchanging my top two favorite things about the movie. Yeah. Technically, the score is the other one. And what's really fun about this movie is that there are moments of the like sound, the in-world sound kind of fades away and we get just a really beautiful composition. And then there's other parts of the movie that the in-world sound stays intact, and the score is an accompaniment of that. Right. And so I liked how both of those things are there, and it's very apparent that the music is a really important part of this movie. Yeah. The themes are stunning, compositions are really well done, and it's moving. There's moving music, and that's kind of like what this movie needed.
When your film can cut out of its sound design and just be the score and still have that kind of emotional reaction, I think that is the testament to how strong of a composer you have for the score. Definitely. You know what's interesting? Sometimes there are moments where there isn't music during like the chase scenes, and I think that actually adds to how exciting the chase is. Right. Because we're on the edge of our seat without that music, without something telling us to feel a certain emotion. Right. And that almost makes it more exciting and more enthralling. Yeah.
No, I agree with that. It's a lot of that time on the airship in the kind of like right as we're approaching the last kind of quarter of the movie. Yeah. A lot of that is without a score. And you get just kind of the wind rustling and like the rustic parts of the ship kind of like moving around, and so you just get some really strong detailed sound design. And like I said earlier, it puts you in that environment. Definitely. We're not questioning the world we're in. In fact, we're living in the world we're in, and that's just the testament to sound design. Because and then because we're not using score, like you said, they're not trying to tell us how to feel or what to feel. We're just there. It lets the visuals do its thing.
Yeah, I think the lack of music in some scenes makes the presence of music in others more impactful.
It's a good way to say it.
Okay, the robots in this film are almost like war machines at one point. Yeah. And yet we find them so adorable.
They're cute. They're cute because he's just like putting flowers on a grave.
I love it.
Like 20 or like 15 minutes later, they're getting like, they're like shooting lasers and stuff.
Oh, I love it. What the heck? It's so great.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
I'm so glad you enjoyed this movie.
Dude, thank you for showing it to me, man.
Thank you for watching it with me.
Dude, it's always a good time to cast it up.
Oh, yeah. We got to do more of these.
Man. We will. We definitely need to explore more.
Oh, yeah. And actually, I showed you a movie that you haven't seen before. And now we were talking about how you want to show me a movie that I haven't seen before. Yep. And I think that's going to be sweet.
Yep.
So,
and I got the perfect one in mind.
Oh, do you want to say what it is or no?
Are you down?
I'm cool.
This is it doesn't really fit into what we're talking about today.
Sure, but that's fine.
It takes a completely different route.
That's fine. Listen, ReelVision podcast is all about celebrating all movies. Yep.
And so the movie I want to show you, and hopefully we can cast on. And if you're interested, let us know in the comments if you're interested for this one.
Yes.
If I can say that. Cut me
out. Yeah, no, that's fine.
the movie I want to show you is Bonnie and Clyde.
I would love to watch Bonnie and Clyde.
Yep.
That would be awesome.
1967 or 1968.
Yeah.
At this really pivotal moment in film history that we can totally dive deep on.
I would love to watch that.
That'd be sweet.
That would be super cool. That's a movie I haven't seen.
All right, let's do it.
Hey, dude, welcome back to the ReelVision podcast. We're back, baby.
We're back.
We're back. All right. Listeners, I want to say thank you very much for listening to this episode of the ReelVision podcast. Tyler, where can the good people of the internet find you? Are you on the Twitter?
Yeah, I'm on the Twitter. So at Tyler Casalini. Maybe it'll be in the description.
Maybe.
It might be.
Maybe.
But that's my Twitter. On there. From there, you can just see my takes from all the new movies I watch, all my pieces of writings. I cover trailers, new trailers, and whatnot. So check me out. Come talk with me if you're interested.
That's awesome. All right.
Yeah,
well, thank you again for listening to this episode of the ReelVision podcast, and we will catch you next time. Stay tuned.
Bye.